Do 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 do.
Welcome. This is the Red Bean Podcast, the New Orleans edition. I'm your host, Mr. Toad, and we have
I'm Dr. Frog.
today's episode is about life balance.
A little bit of attention management, time management, life balance, all of those topics.
It's so challenging because we both come from a place of like higher education or graduate. We have many years of experience, and it's like, how do you manage how do you manage school life with your own personal life, with work life? And this is something I think a lot of people could learn something from.
Sure. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about my background. I was always overscheduled as a kid, and I think that I had to learn a lot of how to balance my energy and time early on. So for example, on a Saturday, I might play 4 sports in a season. So I might do soccer from 9 to 11, football from 12 to 4, basketball from 5 to 7, and then kung fu from 7 to 9 on a Saturday. So I was always kind of running around, very overscheduled, always doing extracurricular activities. Even in undergraduate, I was in 16 student groups at the same time. And I think that for a lot of the way that I've approached it is I think our body, similar to a workout routine, our body sort of sets and adjusts to the level that we push it at. Yeah. And so my thought was, well, why not go extreme? And then things that people will say is, extreme is something that I'll find normal. The downside of that, though, there's health effects that stress has on your body if it's unhealthy.
Yeah.
Over time, there's a lot of bad effects of it. But I think that just being intentional about your time. So similar to eating, you'll see people say, how do you eat healthy, and or how do you limit portion sizes? And a lot of it is around just being intentional with every calorie we take in and every meal we have. For example, I don't eat after 9 p.m.
Okay.
Some people might eat very healthy throughout the day, and then after 9, they'll grab a bag of Oreos late at night.
The slayer of everybody.
The red mist covers their eyes, and they wake up in the morning with an empty bag of Oreos.
I can just imagine at some point in the future we're gonna have like this museum, because they have all these museums of weird things.
Yes.
Like we have the museum of weird medical devices in New Orleans.
Well, and also in Chicago. I went to the one in Chicago.
I could just see an exhibit in the future, like 200 years in the future, where they're like, see these Oreos? Yes. They complain about cigarettes, but these kill just as many as, if not more. And then these Twinkies, my gosh, they really killed a lot of people with high blood pressure. And
they're perfectly preserved.
I know. They last forever.
There we go. They'd still be in the museum 100 years later.
It's like, this will kill you, but at the same time, it lasts forever. I guess for me, my life balance was, I'd always had multiple jobs. And
yes.
From high school, after high school, I had like at one point I was working at Blockbusters, which this is carbon dating me right now. Worked at Blockbusters, did commercial cleaning. I was a park ranger, and I also was apprenticing as a mechanic at the same time.
Sure. So for me, I did landscaping.
Sure.
I did in high school. I was in a lot of sports, so I used that as an excuse to delay work until late high school. But I did catering and food services. Stocking salad bars and things like that.
Yeah, it was crazy because at that time, when I would hang out with my friends, I was notorious. I was like the worst. When it was like we're all sitting there watching a movie, and then I would just pass out at the end of the movie or like before it.
Wow.
I was like, man, I should just walk around with a pillow at one point.
Look at you now.
How much I've changed. It's crazy when you think about the past, where you were when you first started, to where you are now. If you spent years and years being like, wait a second, I used to lived here, now I'm living somewhere else, and I have a new career, and these are my prospects, and I invested, and you're like...
There were certainly some days that I would have to block off, where I would come home from work exhausted at 6 or 7 p.m., close my eyes and sleep for 12 hours, and wake up at 6 a.m. and say, back to work.
I believe in rest. I tell you, there's one thing I learned so much when I was studying really hard for this intensive healthcare course I was doing.
Yeah.
It was gross anatomy, and it was like I had to look at all the you could call it gross, but basically we had to stay so focused. There were so many things you had to understand how that would work.
Yes.
And at the same time, I always remember there was like someone came up to me and you're like, "Hey, we got some free tickets to the football game. We need you guys all to show up." I was angry when I showed to that gig because I was like, "No, my job is to study and to pass this exam that's coming up, not hang out at a football game."
So I think people like you and me, I think one reason we're really good friends as well is that we both understand that there are times and seasons where there's sort of crunch times where there's a lot of projects that are due, and then there are more relaxed times in our working life. One thing that always bugged me, if someone said, "Hey, do you want to go to this movie?" And let's say I had to study for, a tough exam or do something like that, finish a publication. I have many dozens of publications in the last several years. It's that they would interpret this as, why don't you want to hang out with me? Or just say you don't want to do something if you don't want to do it. And I think there's a lot of people who, when they get off work at 4 or 5 p.m., they, that time is sort of sacred. Not just on Sundays, but every day of the week they'll say,
"Oh yeah."
They'll say, "Yep," like they don't check their email.
My ritual now, when I get out of work, I get home, I take off all my clothes, I throw myself on a bed, and I don't move for an hour, for at least 1 hour.
Wow, that's is it meditative?
It's like throughout the whole day, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm talking to this person, and there's like it's just so much that it gets to a point where I'm like, I would like to not have any stimulus for at least an hour. Like that's optimal for me. And I feel like sometimes if you're working with people all day long, how do you the work-life balance comes from that time where you got to rest. You just got to and sleep. Sleep is so.
My thing is be intentional.
It's underrated.
Getting the hours.
It should be more promoted.
Yeah.
I was actually looking at buying a Tempur-Pedic mattress for a while. That's kind of like
just replaced my mattress.
Oh, you did? Yeah. How do you like it?
A couple thousand on it. It was great, and I think what happened is after years of I finally traveled. First time I had traveled besides seeing family for the last 10 years.
Sure.
And I stayed in a hotel, and the bed was so comfortable, it actually spurred me on to replacing a mattress that I had gotten used about a decade ago. And it was used.
Yeah.
It was probably 15, 20 years into use.
I think they say statistically.
It should be 7 years.
I think statistically they say a quarter of your life will be on a bed.
Yeah.
A quarter of your life. And it's like, that's like the one time where I'm kind of like, well, if I was going to splurge, I would definitely splurge on a really good bed.
Yeah.
Because when you get that extra rest, that extra sleep, you're giving your time for your body to heal, Yeah. And it's like, stress, like you were saying, can kill you. How did you, when you're going through like this stressful time of study, work, I mean, how do you manage your time? How do you go through your day when you have so much to do?
So, I used to also work through the night a lot and not sleep intentionally. I would say, I'd have one night where I slept, and then the other night where I worked through the night, and then the next night I would sleep, and the next night I would work through the night. It's kind of like going to the gym. For some people, they'll say, how can you wake up at 4 a.m. and, go to CrossFit or, wake up at 5 and go to the gym or something. And if you make the decision ahead of time, then your body expects it. And it's actually not that bad at all. Because you've already made the decision of doing it. It's similar to any other task, like taking a shower. For some people, maybe they struggle with depression.
Yeah.
Taking a shower in the morning might be really difficult or time-consuming.
That's right.
But for other people, they don't even think about it. They're in a routine where they brush their teeth and shower, and they say, if someone said, well, how did you do that? They'll go, oh, what do you mean?
Do you think that's like a little bit of human conditioning, though? A conditioning process?
Yeah, and I think it's painful to start a new habit sometimes, but once you get it going, you're comfortable. So what I see...
Like Pavlov's dogs, for example. Yeah. When Pavlov would ring the bell, the dog would salivate because the dog knew every time he rang the bell, there was food that was being delivered. So there's some way we can psychologically connect the bell to your reaction. So if I rang a doorbell or bell at the school, didn't you feel like sometimes when you heard the bell, you're like, hey, I'm kind of hungry now?
So what I do is I'd say be very intentional about your routine.
Sure.
And so when you have something, don't just think, okay, how do I manage the tasks this week? Think, how is this affecting my routine of what I'm normally doing? Is there something that's going to shift what I normally do? You know, when you first start a new job for leadership in healthcare, for example, you work in healthcare.
Yeah.
You know, it usually takes leaders about 2 years to adjust to a new hospital system.
Sure.
And so if you're doing something for the first time, it's going to take a lot more energy. One issue that I would run into early on is I would think about the time for tasks, and I wouldn't take into account the energy. So if I had 5 hours worth of work, I would just say, oh, block off those 5 hours.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't take into account things like, are you going to have a 10-minute bathroom break?
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to stretch at a 2-hour mark before continuing? And then...
do you believe in like doing meditation, or do you do any breathing exercises? Like for someone out there who's like, maybe they're experiencing anxiety of like doing multiple tasks or something.
So I used to not work out and use the justification I'm too busy to work out. But actually, when you are extremely busy, there actually comes a time where that hour of working out actually saves time in terms of energy costs and your ability for your body to recover quicker. The recovery is quicker. So it sounds counterintuitive, but if you take that, let's say 3 times a week, 1 hour of increased cardio, that's only 3 hours a week. That 3 hours a week is actually going to save you more than 3 hours worth.
I will also add on to this. I've never done an ice bath, but you know, I
love them.
I would be curious about doing it. I've never done it before.
Every day I used to take one.
Dude, that sounds so brutal.
No, it was relaxing because if you
I feel like I'd be shivering. You're like, but then your body acclimates to it eventually. You know.
You know, if you work out 7 8 hours a day, if you really push yourself,
your body's so inflamed.
Your body's so sore. The muscles have been torn, and they're trying to repair.
Yep.
And it helps. I think it helps speed up that process. I didn't go into sports medicine or anything, but yeah, it's refreshing.
Yeah.
And it almost it's counterintuitive because we're used to wanting warm water if we're in the pool or something.
Yeah.
But you almost want it the colder the better.
Because
with your mindset.
I also think it
didn't work out.
It constricts your blood vessels. Though.
Yeah.
And by constricting your blood vessels, this means even if you wanted to become more inflamed, you don't have the resources to get inflamed.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it stops the
inflammatory response. Yeah. One of the things I would say, at least for the ice bath, is I don't know. It sounds like so brutal.
Yeah, I mean, so when I was in high school, we had 7.
I think it does.
7
as a cold-blooded creature.
And the thing I didn't like about it was getting in and out of it because there were these actual tubs.
Sure.
So I'd have to climb in, and then climbing out was so hard. But let's say there's a fitness center.
Yeah.
You know, in New Orleans, I know that, and you might be aware of the one where you walk in.
Mm-hmm.
So there's sort of a step incline in and out of the ice bath.
Oh wow, that's nice.
You kind of slowly walk in.
Yeah.
Merged, and then you can walk out, and that way you don't have to worry about, lifting your legs into cold metal tubes.
Here's the one thing. I'm not that scared of jumping into the thing because I've always been the crazy guy that would jump into the pool even if it was cold. Because the way I look at it is this. I've seen this multiple times on the Discovery Channel on their Hell Week or their Buds training where the Navy SEALs are jumping into ice cold water in their underwear. And this is like in the ocean or something. So I'm like, if those guys can at least jump in there, I should at least have enough strength to jump in this pool.
So one thing you might want to watch out for is if your body locks up. I did this as a joke one time. It was after a long workout. I was extremely tired, and I kind of just jumped in.
Yeah.
And then again, it was one of those ice, bath facilities where you walk in on one side and you walk in on the other, and my body kind of froze up in shock, and I kind of floated to the other end.
Oh, wow. That's never happened to me
Where
before.
there was the incline where I could then kind of slowly bring myself out of it. Watch it, because people can drown.
Yeah, that's really crazy. I didn't realize that.
If
Wow.
it seizes up. It's kind of a weird feeling to have all your
Sure. I know about cramping and stuff like that. That happens, but that's usually because you're dehydrated, really.
Yeah.
A lot of things have to deal with dehydration.
One thing I miss, I used to play for a team that was in the Little League World Series. So even on a 14, 15-year-old league that feeds into a 16 to 18-year-old group, I used to get weekly massages and trips. We'd play we'd represent the USA against Puerto Rico and other.
Deep tissue massage?
Yes. I would get deep hour and a half massages every week. It was from someone called, her name was Rachel on West 5th, I think.
Oh, okay.
In Ohio. But
actually, one of my favorite shows.
It was painful at first.
I'll tell you.
It was painful for the first month.
Yeah.
But then after that first month or two,
Sure.
your muscles it's so good.
Yeah.
That's when it's relaxing.
One of the things,
Painful the first
one of my favorite shows for the longest time, so I love cycling, bicycle riding. There's a huge bike over my head, whatever.
I kind of feel like getting a massage now if you want to, right after this podcast.
Sure. But I've been riding my bike for many, many years and stuff like that. I've been really interested in cycling, Tour de France. I have a real passion for that. And one of the things that I always remember, at least with the bike riding and stuff, there's a show called Bar Tape.
Yes.
And it was about this team called Team Cervélo. So Cervélo is a company from Canada that eventually got acquired by another company. It got all convoluted. But at that time, it was just this company that said, we want to create radical designs of bikes that are really modern and are really pushing the edge of what performance can what you can pull in some level of performance in a frame. And as I was watching the show, what was cool about it was they followed the team, and there was a masseuse on that bus with the rest of the riders.
Thank goodness, yeah.
Yeah, the masseuse was in there massaging them. Then you had a nutritional person coming in there just giving them candy bars or whatever. And then the end of the episodes, they'd all be like drinking at the pub.
It's probably nutritional bars.
Yeah.
They probably don't like the word candy.
Yeah, probably not candy.
They handed out candy.
I don't know. I mean, after riding for 1,000 miles, it's like, yeah, can you give me a little ice cream?
When I was an athlete, I used to love those hard candies.
Oh, okay.
Jolly Ranchers.
Jolly Ranchers? Okay.
And I would use them. I would melt them in another drink if I wanted some sugar.
There you go.
Yeah. And
Cool.
I get a little bit of flavor. Now I just do spring water and tea.
Yeah, I think you enjoyed my tea. I really appreciate it. We're going to probably do a separate episode on that. Yeah, we're going to talk about how it was made and what Dr. Frog thinks about my Arnold Palmer kind of probably healthier. It's definitely not healthier.
Health ambrosia.
Yeah, health ambrosia.
Which is not just ambrosia is not just a drink of the gods, but it's the name of the dog, the Muppet dog that a character rode around in Labyrinth.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
I was just thinking about all the uses of it besides Greek mythology.
There you go. Okay. Cool. I think we've gone a little bit further away from the topic at hand.
Time management, attention management. I mean, intentionality, I think, is the key.
Yeah, staying on task.
And also think about what's really impactful. Can you push back one of those things?
Sure.
Think about opportunity cost. If you say yes to something, what are you saying no to?
Yeah.
If you agree to do something on all day Saturday, what is that going to be missing from your normal Saturday of if you're used to doing, let's say, homework on Sunday and you decide to go on an all-day weekend trip. So
it throws everything off.
Right. Well, how are you going to make up?
How are you going to make up the time? Yeah, time. I tell you, it's one of the things that I made a group every Friday to write. I'm in a writing group.
There once. I'd like to.
Yeah, you should come again.
I'm going to start back.
One of the things One of the things I would say to people that they're saying, "Hey, I really want to get serious about something."
Yeah.
The best place you can go to, the best feeling of support is, in my case, it's a writing group.
Yeah.
And we all get together, and for 1 hour,
feedback.
we get honest feedback. For 1 hour, we just write, and for that 1 hour, you just have, and then everyone else is doing the same thing with you. So you feel like this energy or something. I don't know how to explain it. Because when you look around, you see, oh, everyone's doing the same thing I'm doing, or they're battling their own battles, but we're all here together. I've gotten so much writing done. It's crazy. I love it.
That's amazing.
And I think you enjoyed it too.
I did, yeah. It was very useful. I got more work done than I expected, but I had very low expectations because I'm used to my own routine of writing.
Okay.
So I thought, well, if you put me in a coffee shop with a bunch of other people, I'm probably not going to get much done. But I got more done than I expected.
Yeah, I really think when you have other people around you, that helps.
Yep.
And I guess the other aspect is, what are your thoughts about vacations and taking breaks? And
it's great. I had a friend who just got back from Fiji. They went to Japan a couple of weeks ago. Before that, and I'm not a normal vacation goer.
Okay.
But I'm reaching several milestones in my personal and professional life where
you have more vacation.
I now have more vacation time.
Good.
With, my company. I'm always looking at where to go next. On my bucket list is Japan, though.
Yeah.
We have a New Orleans edition of this, but maybe we'll have other editions.
We'll have a New Orleans. We'll have the Red Bean Podcast Japanese edition.
Yeah, or maybe Japan, Las Vegas. We could travel.
Yeah.
Even do some recordings there.
Hey, I had the setup, so
We had the setup. Take it on the road. We'll go to Biloxi maybe. Or something.
We'll just get like a giant RV or something and just drive around the country.
Hey, not out of the realm of possibility. But yeah, let's. So when I'm vacationing, I usually have a specific purpose.
Sure.
That I want to accomplish there. But you put in the relaxing time so that spontaneous moments can happen when you're traveling.
At least on my bucket list, I want to go to Philadelphia and I want to have a Philly cheesesteak.
Look,
and run the path of Rocky. I want to go up those steps and be like, Adrian. I want to do that. Like that's like
what they say in Philadelphia, though. They say yins.
Oh, I don't know.
What yins doing?
Yeah.
Instead of y'all, it's kind of like the y'all down here, but they'll say yins.
Yins. Oh, okay, interesting. I'm getting some training on this.
It stands for use guys. Let's see, you've got use guys up there.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I grew up neighboring Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
Good. I don't know. I don't like Philly.
No, you don't like Philly. Do you like the Philly cheesesteak, though?
I've never been, so I can't. I'm just basing it off.
There might be a Red Beans Philadelphia edition.
I was the only person rooting for Apollo Creed and Rocky.
What? Come on.
Yeah, dude, he was awesome. He's great.
I like Rocky, though.
Yeah, no, he's like this lovable, relatable,
I love the idea.
Underdog story.
I love the underdog story, but it also shows that, he came from like extreme poverty. This is all he had left.
Well, it's supposed to be about work ethic overcoming talent, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, I think, maybe it's because I was closer to being a professional athlete than some people, but the idea of beating a professional from, I'm going to train really hard for the next 30 days. You probably see this all the time on YouTube where they say, hey, I did this in 30 days and now I'm an expert, right?
I hate those.
I know. I hate those too. So that is basically, Rocky is basically the 80s equivalent of YouTube shorts on how to become an financial expert.
The only thing I would say is the redeeming grace of Rocky was this. I love the montages. Don't you love the montages of Rocky? Like he's at the gym lifting weights, like, and he's like and then he's even like grabbing the chicken that's running away. That's real talent.
You're right.
That's
the
talent.
Famous. The percentage of the movie that's a montage, it's just a little bit. It's a little slim. Most of the movie was about social awkward interaction.
Oh yeah.
Right? I mean, it was about a guy who couldn't, and he really likes Adrian, who's this very introverted person who works at the pet shop.
Yeah.
So he works at the pet shop, and Rocky's just kind of like trying to make small talk, like, "Oh, look at this lizard over here," and you're like, "I don't know, like, I don't know, like."
He's working it, man. He's working it. He's on the payroll, man. He's on the payroll.
I'll put it this way: there's enough social awkwardness in real life. When I go to the movies, I'm looking to escape. I'm looking for something that's not so real.
But it's very real. I love the realness.
It was kind of like real writing. You could, the flawed hero was a great archetype that was used in that.
Yeah.
And as it relates to time management,
his time management. He trained a lot in that movie. I can tell you, like him.
Yeah, if you want to time manage and become an expert at something.
My favorite montage. We might even have to do an episode on my favorite montages. But here's one of the montages that I really love is Rocky 3, or I think it's Rocky 4, when he's fighting the Russian.
Yeah.
Anyone who's commenting, please comment on, was it Rocky 3 or Rocky 4? But we have this guy who's the Russian. Dolph Lundgren plays him, and he's like...
I think it's 4.
I think it's 4, yeah. And basically what happens is that his friend Apollo Creed dies. And I'm sorry, I'm spoiling, but this is a really old movie. So
if you haven't seen this,
you better just turn it off and come back.
Yeah.
All right, now come back.
You can rejoin society.
Now you can rejoin society. So now we know that but now we know that he says, like, okay, we're going to fight in Russia, which is so controversial. Is that he's going to go into Russia? He's going into the USSR, and he's going to fight there. And one of the things I would say that's really impactful of the film is that it shows Rocky training in Russia. Like, he's running up mountains of snow, and there's like these Russian guys like following him around. And then he's like lifting up a wagon with everyone on it with these rocks on it. And then, he's like working on a farm basically.
Basically CrossFit before there was CrossFit.
But then at the same time, you see Drago's training. He's like running with all this like machinery. He's on a treadmill. There's all these machines on him. So it's like
some technophobia mixed in there.
I know. It's like you have machine here, nature here, machine here, nature here.
The person who has.
Do you want to be milked by the machine, or do you want to milk the animals of the farm?
I'd rather someone with augmented reality glasses on trying to pick up our virtual chickens.
Yeah, that's not going to work. Yeah.
Well, hopefully this has helped you with your time management.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're just kind of blasting it here. But you know what? The idea is that take it one day at a time. One of the things I think was one of the helpful things one of my professors told me was to eat a whale, it just takes one bite at a time.
How about this? Controversial statement. There's no such thing as multitasking. There's just rapidly shifting intense focus between tasks.
That's true. It's only when you do it all at the same time that gets kind of rough.
Well, when we say at the same time, how we break down events is partially the metaphysics of how we cut this pie. Is it every split action, or is it?
So for example, if they would do two tasks where like I was sitting there pressing my finger down, and then the other task would be pressing 2 fingers down, and then 3. Do I just pretend 1 and 2 and 3 didn't happen, or?
But what I mean is, and this is the metaphysical pie.
Sure.
All of that might be used in, let's say, video editing. Right.
Sure.
So you've done the task of video editing, even if it includes hundreds of actions.
Yeah.
To accomplish it. So the idea of multitasking, though, is the idea of, you're editing a video while
you're looking at something or doing research,
editing
or
a second video with your other hand. And the truth is, it's better to switch between windows, right?
Yeah.
And edit the video with one, and then turn your attention, edit the second video.
Yeah. Sometimes
editing both videos at the same time isn't going to work.
Is that going to work as well?
You're going to end up with 2 poorly edited videos, because you wouldn't have separated your time and attention.
That's right. I think we're going to wrap it up, but I think this episode is just about, I love our life experience, but just how to deal with everyday issues. And I think we can wrap it up here. This is your host, Mr. Toad.
I'm Dr. Frog.
And we'll talk to you guys later.